G'day guys, and welcome back to another Aussie Investing Machine live stream. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've had a great week. It's certainly been a busy one for me, back into the swing of things. Been noticing the traffic on the road is really picking up. It certainly feels like normal again. Perhaps not if you're in Queensland, but down here in Melbourne, it almost seems like it's busier than it was pre-pandemic. Let me know what you think about that. Have you noticed similar change? I think a lot of people are getting back into the office and certainly traveling in and out of the city. Don't drive all the time to work. We did today and it was crazy. So certainly a bit of a return to normality. In this stream, I wanted to talk about a company I noticed has had a pretty big couple of days, called 88 Energy. And what's interesting about this company is that it's an oil and gas company. So a bit of bucking the trend a little bit. We saw a lot of coal, oil and gas get really hard hit, I guess over the past year. Maybe a bit of a comeback happening. So we'll look into 88 Energy. As always, happy to answer any of your questions, whether you're watching during the live stream. Please pop them in the live chat. I'll get to every one of your questions. And if you're watching this video after, please feel free to comment as well. If you haven't done so already, give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate your support. I've got a comment here from the Intoxicated Investor. Unreal foot traffic in Sydney the past week since face masks no longer mandatory. Yeah, so we've lost them in Melbourne or Victoria as well. Doesn't matter where you are, you're not allowed. You don't have to wear a face mask. Some companies, some stores still enforcing it, which may not be a bad thing considering what happened in Queensland. You know, we're seeing people who have been vaccinated actually contracting the virus. So not so good, but look, it is nice to be back to normal. I won't complain too much about that. I'll have a quick look probably first at my portfolio. I'll just bring that up. So things have been okay. So iShares has taken top spot again with a 19% overall return for them. Most of the stocks are doing well. Polynovo is pretty much back to zero, so it had a bit of a boost up to $3. It's now settled back down, so could be another buying opportunity. I'm pretty heavily invested though at 11% of my portfolio, so might hold there. Kogan still not recovering just yet. Northern Star back under $10, so a bit disappointing there. PointsBet had a better day, still 20% off. So these three stocks are really dragging down the portfolio, but again, I think they're all pretty solid. I've mentioned that in the past. How are your stocks going? I got a nice dividend from Beach Energy, I think today, which was really nice. Paying a really healthy dividend. So, and that's an oil and gas stock as well, which we'll talk about soon. So yeah, interesting to know how your guys' portfolios are going. Chen, good evening. Thanks for joining the stream. Great to see you here. Looking forward to your comments. Let's jump into the presentation I've got, which is live stream number 18. So we're talking about 88 Energy. So I hadn't heard of this company before. Maybe you haven't as well. Let's talk a little bit about them. I've pulled this quote from their annual report, which was put out in December 2020. So it's relatively recent. I'll read this out to you. So as we approach the results of the Merlin 1 well, which is a drilling well, an oil exploration well, it is again worth reminding ourselves why 88 Energy chose to explore in Alaska. At the outset, 88 Energy cast the net far and wide in search of a project that could make a meaningful difference, one which would capture investor attention with a transformational upside. The source of rocks in Alaska have been described as unbelievably rich and prolific, having generated and expulsed about 1.5 trillion barrels of oil. yet only a small fraction of that 1.5 billion barrels has been found, leaving vast potential remaining to be discovered. So they note that the rocks tell a story of how much oil has been released, but not all of that oil has yet been captured. Almost all the remaining fields in Alaska are stratigraphic traps rather than anticlines and require a subtler exploration approach, which 88E is pursuing as it targets reservoirs adjacent to the same source rocks. So it's a little bit technical, but I guess they're sort of talking about their approach being a little bit different to the conventional, search for oil. We'll talk about that soon. So their Alaskan missions are good because there's access to existing infrastructure, which we'll have a look at on a map shortly. They've got a very supportive and stable government, being the US government or the state of Alaska, and significant exploration upside, which we talked about. It's a huge amount of oil, which they know from the geology is there. It just it's yet to be, pulled out of the ground. Here's this map that I wanted to speak to. You can see here there's a number of players in the region. Willow, Greater Mooses Trough, Alpine, these are all exploration regions by other oil companies. I've got a note here, Oil Search ASX, which I'm sure you've heard of, has been in this region. They've got, that's their region of exploration. So it cost them 850 mil. And then if we look at the projects that 88 Energy have, they've got the Yukon, Icewine, Charlie, Heavenly Appraisal, Project Icewine, all of these ones, and then Projects Peregrine over here. And a couple of dates as well. The map starts to mean more when we look into the details. So in this corner, it might be hard for you to see, but it shows the project up at the very north coast of Alaska, and then they've got the Trans-Alaska Pipeline System, which is that access to infrastructure they're talking about. So there's existing infrastructure there, which they can pump the oil through in order to get it exported, presumably in the south of the country. So looking at the crude oil price, probably not too influential on the share price of 88, because really their share price is jumping on discoveries. But just to show this recovery from mid-2020, it's really bounced back. It's sort of now back where we were at the end of 2020, which is lower than where it was in 2018, but in general it's been coming back. I mean, oil, it's not popular, however it's necessary, and even as cars turn electric, is still going to be a very, very long transition, whether we've hit peak oil or not. There's still money to be made in declining industries, and that's worth noting. Certainly something like a passenger aircraft is going to require oil for quite some time, and there's heaps of other industrial applications. Oil is essential for lubrication in machinery and components, so I really can't see it dying instantly or dying overnight. It may be declining. We may have reached peak oil. We may not have, but suffice to say there's a lot of money, or a lot of oil yet to be sold, and therefore a lot of money still to be made. So they acquired Xcd Energy, which was an Alaskan oil exploration company / producer, and this gave them access to some of their projects, and they have these 3 key project areas, which we could see on that map if we go back: Icewine, Yukon Leases, and Project Peregrine. So if we look back at that map, we can see them: Icewine in the middle, Peregrine, and Yukon up in the right hand side. Financials, so nothing too complicated here, just the fact that they do have 15 mil of cash on hand, so they do have money to continue their investigations, and they have a partner who is helping them source some of that funding, and then they're doing capital raises as well. You can see their latest one was $5 million, their latest was 10, prior to that it was 5, so 15 mil over the year, making a net loss of 22 mil, but that's what we're expecting. They're exploring. It's really speculating at the moment. Latest news. So what has driven the share price so high? I think if we have a look at their share price, we can see, yeah, up 60% today. So crazy. What has fueled this? Well, it's to do with the latest news. So ASX listed 88 Energy, I'll take you to this article in a moment where I've got this information from, is staring down the barrel of a potential oil discovery at its 600 million barrel prospective oil target being drill tested in the frozen Arctic ground of Alaska's oil-rich North Slope. So this is that Merlin 1 drill hole we spoke about, has intersected multiple reservoir sandstone layers with the target Nanushuk Formation, with many layers exhibiting indications of the presence of oil, collectively referred to as oil shows. So positive results, but the little snippet from the managing director is that whilst there's still work to do to confirm a discovery, the results to date are encouraging, and we look forward to providing an additional update on the Y-line program in 7 to 10 days. So we'll know in just over a week how good this news is. If it is good, if it's bad, might be an interesting little speculative stock to play in. Now, I'll mention at this point that none of the information in this video is a buy recommendation. It's just presenting you the facts and the latest news. So before making any financial decisions, please see a licensed financial advisor and do your own research, of course. I'll just jump over, see if we've got any comments. Intoxicated investor. So Schrodinger Inc, US stock on my watch list, develops software for computational chemistry. Customers include all the big pharma. So I'll take a look at those guys in a minute. Hey Pat, hope you had a good week too. Thanks for joining in on the stream. Good to see you here. So we'll get back to that in a moment. Bill Gates, fair enough. As much as people hate oil, it's not really going anywhere in the next 5 to 10 years anyway. Also interested in Santos. Yeah, Santos, big oil company. It's just their track record and their market price has been questionable, I think, over the past 10 to 20 years. There's a little bit of history there, but I think there might be something a bit fishy about Santos in their past. Worth looking into. Maybe it's worth a video on them. I need to do my research. But yes, I've got shares in Woodside Petroleum in another portfolio, which is not doing well. Woodside have been hit hard over the past 12 to 24 months. As the crude oil price improves, it may come back into the black for me. Certainly they're a strong producer. I think they're the biggest exporter of gas in Australia. So Jeffrey Dahmer, yes, nice work, Jeffrey. What's going on with App and Kogan? Yeah, well, let's jump into some of the other stocks. I'll go back to the intoxicated investors comment. Let me jump out of this presentation. So the first company to look at is Schrodinger Inc. Let's have a look at them. Have a look, Schrodinger. Sorry if I'm saying it wrong. So it's listed on the NASDAQ, 71 US. Yeah, okay, it's had a bit of an interesting year, a bit up and down. Life sciences, material science company founded in 1990. Software for computational chemistry. Yeah, okay, well, that's an interesting one. That might be worth me taking a look at. I might do a video on them as a bit of a US stock video. Great tip, thanks for that, the intoxicated investor. And one of your comments was, I have a pipeline of equity interests in about 25 drugs of other companies, all approaching FDA approval, and earn royalties on the interests of other drugs, plus all their software as a service revenue. Seems like a pretty solid revenue model. So yeah, they might be worth checking out. I'll put them on the list for a future episode. And Bill Gates bought 300 mil. So yeah, all things pointing in the right direction, it seems. So let's have a look. So App and Kogan. So look at App, and I haven't seen them for a couple of days. Wow, down again. Yeah, Appen's struggling. Yeah, I think I was looking at Appen at like 20, yeah, around here at $20. It looked like they were going to bounce back, but they certainly haven't. I'd be keen to read up why they've dropped further, but I know they dropped initially in that tech downturn we had on the ASX and the S&P 500. I think people have just lost a little bit of conviction about the company and its customers. I think that's the gist of it. We could pop into some news and see what they're saying. Rask Media is a pretty good resource. I like reading their articles. High quality company. Could have been just overvalued. So currency headwinds, yes. COVID, major customers, expenditure. Yep, so that's what I was referring to. Have adjusted, so cost cutting, obviously it's some of the companies that use Appen's resources. I think they provide information to help artificial intelligence learn. That's their key business. So yeah, their results were good financially, and that's similar with Kogan, but probably just didn't hit expectations, and they've been hit really hard. There was no room for mediocre results in the FY20 reporting season, so they got bashed really bad, and I guess we haven't had much positive news out of them. That might explain it. Kogan, on the other hand, yes, I'm suffering with Kogan at the moment, but similar to Appen, performance is good financially, but perhaps not at the levels that was being priced in. Let's see if we've got a Simply Wall Street intrinsic value using a discounted cash flow method. Could be interesting to read that, but it doesn't really give us much of a story. So Yahoo Finance is sort of echoing what I'm saying. Stocks declined 32%. However, stock prices are usually driven by the company's financial over the long term, which in this case look pretty respectable. And that's my long-term view on the company. I'm going to stick with Kogan. Yeah, and return on equity, they'll talk about this. So worth having a look through some of those articles if you're interested, I guess. But yeah, and the last stock here, Vulcan, we know went down, but I think still solid prospects. But I think Vulcan, there was a huge amount of attention around them, a lot of hype, and they've crashed probably proportionately. I wonder if they've started consolidating yet. Okay, yeah, so it's sort of leveling out, but if you bought in here in December, it's still looking like a very good investment. You know, if you extrapolate this growth here, it's sort of where you end up. But this vertical price movement's always a little bit of a warning, unless it's Bitcoin, of course. But yeah, when you see these straight lines on graphs, it usually means that there will be some kind of correction coming. Not always, but it certainly does happen. You can have a look at Marley Spoon, for example, did the same thing. We had this vertical price movement, and then it's just continued to consolidate down. So I think I got in at Marley Spoon at about 214, and it's one of the stocks I sold for a small profit, maybe at 260 or something. So, but yeah, it was just far too sharp of a jump, a bit of hype. This was driven by a pandemic, hype with people ordering a lot of food at home, push their revenue up, granted, but is it sustainable? Perhaps not, and that's what the market's telling us. PLL or PII. Don't know them. Could you let me know who that is? I'm not sure from that ticker code, but yeah. Pat, hopefully Woodside will recover as we start to move out of the pandemic. Commodities should improve, except for maybe iron ore. Don't know. Oil, certainly I agree with you there. I'd love to know your thoughts on iron ore. I was looking at BHP and Rio. When Rio was at $80, must have been 2018, 2019. Have to have a look a bit further back. It's cyclical, as you can see, following that iron ore price. Yeah, I think it was back here when they dropped. Yep, in August 2018. I was waiting for them to drop to 80 before buying, and I didn't. They've come off a little bit as iron ore's dropped. If we have a look at the commodity price for iron ore, it's still very high, sort of just leveling out at 160, which is huge. You can see the level it was at back in 2018, $65. And there's a guy who writes for macroeconomics, and he, he's putting the target on iron ore long-term price at $60. There's the main purchaser of iron ore for this country and for BHP and Rio is China, and the Chinese plan is to move away. Their economic stability plan is to move away from excessive spending on infrastructure. We've all heard of the Chinese ghost cities that exist. Essentially, less Chinese civil infrastructure building and residential and commercial construction means less iron ore exports, and therefore the fall in demand will equal a drop in the price of iron ore. So the guy who writes for macroeconomics, if you Google macroeconomics iron ore, I could do that for you. Let's have a look. Maybe I've got that website name wrong. I'll link it in a comment below. I'll find one of the articles and link it after the stream. But yeah, sort of long-term iron ore price could be $60. That's what some people's outlook is, and if that's the case, it's not unheard of. We saw those levels in 2018. If iron ore drops to 60, you're going to see the shares of BHP and Rio Tinto follow, because that's their main export. Rio's a bit more diversified than BHP, but still. Bob, any thoughts on where Northern Star will head? Surprised to see it back in the 9s, as am I. Would you plan to top up? Yes, I think if I could remove emotion from the situation, I'd be topping up at $9. Yeah. Again, their financials similar to Appen and Kogan, pretty strong. When I did my research into the drop off in price, read information about the Saracen merger negatively impacted them. I also found that they'd been short sold quite a bit, not now, but previously, so there was a bit of negative pressure on the share price there. I really think another round of results will help the company. Might give them a boost back up to 10, 11, 12. Yeah, but they are a fantastic company in terms of their output. So I'm hoping for some really, really positive results, which hopefully will drive that share price back up. But it is very sad for me to see them so low. But you're right. I should probably look at buying more, maybe the same chunk that I've already bought again at $9 and sort of average that out. But yeah, it's been a massive crash. Lots of brokers saying buy at this price. If only I had got in then. But yeah, if you look at something like their half-year results summary, earnings per share was up 27%, which is huge. Net profit was up 46%. Free cash flow was up 100%. EBITDA was up 50%. Revenue was up 34%. They're really strong growth numbers. So surprising what's happened with the share price. But yeah, as I think Pat was saying, we might see a bit of a swing back to commodities. Value stocks are certainly catching up now. Northern Star, not so much. You can see it's really inconsistent with that long-term trend all the way back from 2017. It's been so stable, the price movement, and that's why I was so interested in buying them. Hopefully it can correct. We will see. PRL. Let's have a look at them. Good to see BC. Hope you're enjoying the stream. Province Resources, not super familiar with them. Pretty small market cap of 112 mil. Solar data, carbon hydrogen project. Okay, could be interesting. So this is a renewable stock. If you got more information, let me know, and I might look into them maybe the next live stream. See how we go. Pat, Northern Star, undervalued. Good time to pick up. Was being short sold for a while. Yeah, that's pretty consistent with what I found. Market definitely not reflecting the value. Couldn't agree more. You're really convincing me to buy some more and get over my feeling sorry for myself, I think. So, yeah. Any thoughts on RRL? Let's have a look at RRL. Not familiar with the ticker. Regis. Yeah, I actually have heard of Regis. Another gold miner, I think. See what market index says. Yep, gold in Australia also hit hard, so pretty consistent with Northern Star. Be worth checking the gold price, because obviously that impacts companies like Northern Star. Yeah, and it's starting to tail off. So I guess to summarize on Northern Star and Regis, even if their financials are good, ultimately their financials will be impacted by the price of gold, what they get for what they produce. And until this turns, I don't think we'll see a major comeback. So maybe before topping up, I'd like to see gold take an upswing. Whether that will happen or not, I'm not sure what the key drivers of the gold price are. Certainly uncertainty and interest rates rising drive gold up. So and it looks like we definitely will see interest rates rise. I'm not sure if anyone saw the news. Some of the big four banks, I think Combank, has increased the fixed rate on their 4-year fixed rate home loan, meaning that they're expecting a rate hike in the next 4 years, which is consistent with what the RBA, the Reserve Bank of Australia, is saying. They've said that there won't be a rate hike for at least 4 years, and I think they said that a year ago. So I think the bank's putting together 2 and 2 and getting 4. There'll be a rate hike, and when that happens, people will turn to gold. Because as interest rates rise, the value of your money, I guess, goes down quicker. So, Pat, I don't think that iron ore price is sustainable. Agreed. If Brazil comes back online, it can't stay that high. Yeah, basic supply and demand. But BHP has a pretty diverse portfolio. They do, but I think Rio is more diverse and maybe slightly less reliant on iron ore as their major export. Fact check that for me, but when I looked into the companies, that was certainly the case. I think Rio is in diamonds, precious metals. They're in uranium as well. They're in iron ore. They're in copper. They might be in nickel as well. Thoughts on Mesoblast? Don't have a lot of conviction. They've got lots of products, and they've got not much in the way of FDA approval, and a lot of hype. A bit of a hype train. We followed them a little bit earlier in the year when I think one of their products, Ryansil, was very close to approval, but it got knocked back at the last gasp by the FDA. But before it got knocked back, the share price went nuts. It crashed. And then a couple of weeks later, the company was really pushing one of their COVID-related drugs or products. And that, again, pushed up the share price, but I'm not sure how well it did, and it sort of came back again. Just nothing that really gives me conviction about the company. There's no one key product. Certainly not like something like Polynovo. Polynovo, for example, has that one product, and they're selling it, and it's profitable, and people like it, and that gives me a lot of conviction about a company. Whereas Mesoblast is still testing and trying, and they don't have, one bestseller just yet. Maybe when they do, it'll be worth a look, but they've been going for many, many years without a lot to show for it. That's my take. Thoughts on AYS? Do you trade stocks like that after more than 70%? If you're, yeah, let's have a look. So AYS. Oh yeah, okay. Oh wow. Oh, 70% drop. I don't trade buy or sell stocks because of how much or how little they've gone up or down. Probably have more of a long-term mindset than that. Amasim, I don't know why it's gone down so much. That's a big drop. Will it recover? I don't know enough. If you wanted to sell now, you'd probably get a nice capital loss that you could offset in your tax against maybe a capital gain. That would be one reason for selling now. But really it depends on what you think the long-term prospects of the company are. And I don't know enough about Amasim to give you my thoughts on that, but yeah, I guess tax is one key consideration you might think about if you were going to sell after a big loss. Did I end up starting a crypto portfolio? Not yet. I've got a mate who's in my ear 24/7 about it. I really should. Yeah, there's something he mentioned. Let me pull that up. You guys might know about it. It's called Fetch. Bear with me. I might have to find it afterwards and leave you another comment. No, I've lost it. It's something to do with crypto, something startup that apparently is going to do really well. It's a tip-off I've been given. Haven't looked into it too much, but yeah. Let me save that. I'll pop it in a comment. Don't want to waste your time looking through messages. What on earth is going on with Megaport? Megaport. Yeah, wow. Down. Not so good. Yeah, so Megaport provides, I guess, data centers in between a business and cloud service providers like Amazon Web Services or Microsoft OneDrive, or whatever the corporate version of that is. And they allow you a really fast connection between the two. I'm not sure why they're going down. I need to do some research. NextDC is a competitor, and they look to be on a similar pathway. So maybe it's something affecting industry-wide. I'm not sure. I have to do a bit of research into that. ATH is working hard to help people with Parkinson's. What's your take on this company? ATH. Sounds like a good cause, that's for sure. Very small company, 71 mil. I probably don't focus too much on penny stocks, but if there's one that gives you particular conviction, let me know more about ATH if it's something you'd like me to look at in a future video. Yeah, I will come back to you. I'll drop a comment. I'll actually send a message now. See if I can get it in this stream. Anyway, Doe is again dropping a lot. Just waiting for an announcement about the Android app launch. What does the chart tell you on this? So Doe got into some hot water, I think, with some of their directors' conduct, which probably has caused this slide. I haven't really looked into them since reading that information about them. There was something about purchasing another company. Yeah, the director's conduct was being investigated by the ASX when I last looked at them. But we know that some fintech companies have had a really rough year. One of them folded in the US might have been Singer. Maybe not Singer. Yeah, Singer collapse. So yeah, fintech neobanks not doing so well. Could be related to that, could be an industry-wide thing. But yeah, I know Doe is in some hot water for sure with some of their director conduct. PayPal announced they will be letting customers use Bitcoin today as well. I think Visa said the same the other day. Yeah, it all started with Tesla, didn't it? So perhaps it is time to take some cash out of the wallet and get into Bitcoin. Pull up the charts and give an insight on Afterpay. Yep, can do. Let's have a look. Afterpay. So I'm going one week interval. I've got the moving average, the MACD, and the stochastics. So we could start with the moving average, which is showing us that moving average we can see as a level of resistance, if you like, and usually at resistance prices will bounce. When it crosses below resistance, it could be seen as a selling indicator, and when a stock jumps above resistance, we can see that as a buy indicator. If we look up Northern Star just as a quick comparison, I got impatient. We can see it crossed below resistance, started to look like it was coming back up, and I purchased around here because I thought it was going to break back through the moving average and continue on the way up. I wasn't patient, it didn't cross the moving average line, and look what happened. Back to Afterpay. So hasn't quite hit the moving average, so you might expect it to test that resistance line, and that would be my next thought. So 89, this is increasing obviously as time goes on. It will get closer and closer to 101. So resistance may end up being at 92, say. The MACD shows us the buying and selling activity. So the bars here are what we're looking at. If the bars are below the line, it represents oversold conditions. If the bars are above, it represents overbought. So more buying than selling, or more selling than buying. And at the moment, we are at the peak of selling. It's being heavily sold at the moment. The buy and sell signal on the MACD, you're looking at these bars as an arch. See if I can actually draw that. Oops. Oh yeah, I can draw. So you're looking at these. I thought I could draw. It's not letting me draw. I can doodle. So you're looking at the bars as an arch, and at the start of the arch is a buy, and at the end of an arch is a sell. So if we look at this as an arch, we'd expect it to do something like this, and at that point there is when you're buying. But you look at all three in tandem. So you look at your MACD buy signal, you look at your moving average buy signal, which we talked about as when it breaks back through the moving average. So if that's the moving average, that would be your buy signal there, this being your sell signal. And then on the stochastics, to finish off, stochastics, when it gets to the bottom of a curve and the lines cross, that's a shift in momentum. That's your indication to buy. So if we draw through here, so that's that line. When these lines cross and start making their way back up, that cross is your buy signal. And similarly at the top, when they cross and start to drop, that's your sell signal. So for the technical analysis, for the ideal buying condition, you want to be stochastics at the bottom, MACD at the start of an upway arch, for lack of a better term, and on the moving average you want to be breaking back up through that moving average line. So we're not there yet with Afterpay, we're being patient and waiting. Hope that makes some kind of sense. And that is not something I've made up. That's from Phil Town's book, which I link in most of my video descriptions. So, Bob, any thoughts on DSK? DSK. No, not familiar with Dusk. Home fragrance, products, including candles. Not familiar with them. I'd need to do some research. Sorry, have to get back to you on that. Thoughts on Northern Star in the future? Went over that a little bit before. I've got a good long-term view of them, but it's heavily reliant on that gold price, as we mentioned. That was an amazing technical analysis. Maybe not amazing, but with my limited technical analysis knowledge, that's what I can give you, and that's what I'd be looking at. So yeah, might wrap it up there, guys. It's been a great stream. Thank you all so much for watching. Loved all your comments. It's been a great chat. I'll see you next Wednesday in the live stream, and I'll put out a video between now and then. So thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. I hope you have a good night. Just got one more comment here. What's the name of Phil Town's book? I think you should just be able to Google Phil Town. Rule number 1. That's it. If you buy it through the link in my video descriptions, you'll be my first Amazon royalty, which would be great if you decide to do that. If not, all good. But yeah, it's a great way to support the channel. So check out Phil Town's book. It's a great one. Definitely has that section on technical analysis, which I found super useful. It's a great read. Very easy to read as well. Thanks, Pat. Cheers, mate. Have a good night. Thanks, BC. Have a good night. I'll end it there, guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.